In terms of how daylight affects an occupant, somebody in a house, it has a real sort of fundamental sort of impact. We are, living, breathing, sort of entities, and the quality of light impacts tremendously on how we feel and how we actually undertake our sort of daily lives. Daylight really could, to me, could be separated, or not separated, described in a number of different ways. But you've got the phenomenological, which is the sort of the atmosphere that it creates, but equally it has to actually facilitate doing certain things, like for example, everything from reading a book to chopping an onion, on a chopping board in a kitchen. That you need to be able to do those well. So that's where how daylight is designed and how actually it sort of lands on the surface and lands on the eye to actually make people feel better. Just thinking about using sort of standard roof lights, out of a catalogue of predetermined sizes, I have found that actually it can be quite limiting. It starts to determine the structural layout of, say, for example, of your roof structural system, and that has an impact then on potential sort of layout of rooms and so on. So that actually it can be quite limiting. In terms of coming over the limitations of sort of systemized standard roof lights, obviously you can work the design around them, which seems a bit sort of illogical, or you sort of think of, well, in an ideal world, if I could have the roof light design or format that I ideally would like, that would be the obvious thing, is to sort of like choose not to use the standard one, and actually think of what is the ideal. So we're back to the idea of like a total architecture or total design, where you're thinking of how to do everything as well as you can. I have a phrase that I've been using since I was a student, which is minimize compromise. And that's what you're doing. As soon as you move away from just using standard products, you're able to then sort of minimize that compromise. And that's, one would argue, what we're all trying to do, whether we're architects or clients or people commissioning buildings, is actually to minimize the compromise in what we do. It was Mies van der Rohe that actually referred to the roof as being the fifth elevation. If we think of elevations as the vertical faces, but actually and I think he was trying to emphasize the point that actually we don't think enough about our roofs and the impact that they have, both externally, people looking down on them, but also internally. So I think that's a very, it was an enlightened comment on actually we need to invest more time, more thought into how we can optimize the design of our roofs. To have the freedom of bespoke designs and to have the idea of having circular roof lights, to have ones that you can walk on and so on, gives, I think, fantastic flexibility. So for owners to have, when you've got that range of options, that means that you can really consider the optimum solution. So for example, if it's some argue that the most democratic dining table is a circular one. So then you sort of think, well, if you've got a circular dining table, well, what do you have above it? You have got a circular roof light, and again, so that you can start to connect the function and the spaces and what's going on underneath the roof with actually how that light starts to appear. Architects will receive a bespoke roof light system with open arms. I realise that obviously it will be potentially slightly more expensive, but actually having something that is bespoke and specific for a project, I think brings lots of advantages, and it gives that real sort of ability to create the sort of total design solution that quite a number of clients will be looking for. So instead of having to sort of compromise, the likes of the new VELUX Vario system will allow people, architects and their clients, to actually develop these the optimum solution. So when we're in issues of climate change and trying to maximize the design as much as possible so that it lasts and is valued as much as possible, I think the ability to create the bespoke optimum solution means that architects will be, if they know about it, I think they will be very keen to use it where possible.